can't do this memorizing. It's really personal, and I don't want to memorize this and go through the whole acting process of like figuring out what I was trying to say. I'd rather read it to you and go through that process. So, my name's Joel. I am the artistic director of Pocket Theater VR, and I'm doing the neighborhood monologue for this one. So, and I feel really bad because I'm taking up all this space and there are people waiting, and we're just gonna do it. So, hi. I'm not good at storytelling. I think I'm pretty bad at it, actually. I'm horrible at creating an arc and a catharsis, so this is really going to be me explaining my identity, and then the piece is going to end, and that's it, really. So I'm Chinese American. I'm the youngest of 5. I was born in Evanston, Illinois. When I was 6, I moved to Kenya. When I was 7, I moved to Uganda, lived there until I graduated high school. My parents now live in Shanghai. They're moving to Oregon next year. And also, I live in Chicago right now. You can probably see there's a tower right there. Right now we're in Chinatown. This is actually a really great park on the riverside. I've said that sentence a lot. It doesn't even register with me anymore. I go into autopilot. It's my answer if anyone asks where I'm from or where I call home. I just kind of deflect by telling them where I've lived, because I don't really know where home is. I have no idea who I am, and I'm really tired of explaining it to everybody. I don't know if I'm white passing or Chinese passing. I think it depends on how many people are in the room, or how much facial hair I have, or what I'm wearing. It's really weird. This is purely my racial insecurity talking. I know that at worst, I'm ethnically ambiguous. People can tell that I'm not really white, but they don't know really what I am beyond that. When I was a kid, my classmates would say that I'm not Chinese because I've never been to China. I knew that was completely ridiculous, but when I finally got to visit my parents in China and I got to go to the Great Wall of China, there was this moment when I felt relieved, because I felt like I finally proved them wrong, and I felt Chinese. And also I kind of thought they were right, that like I wasn't Chinese because I hadn't gone to China. Like obviously they're not right, but there was just this imposter syndrome inside of me that was there, and it kind of felt fulfilled when I went to China. There's something to be said about being from somewhere and actually being in that space, and that's what I felt when I was actually in China. Inhabiting in an area where you aren't an outsider, where you don't feel like an outsider, is very welcoming. I'm so used to feeling like home is somewhere else that I don't think I'll recognize it when I get there. I'm actually terrified of that idea that I don't know when I'll have landed in a place or with people that are actually home for me, because I'm so used to thinking that home is not where I am. I'm Chinese American, but I'm not Chinese. I ain't American. My passport is American, if you're wondering. Growing up, I remember some people in Uganda would look at me and they would say nothing. And then they would look at my mom and they would say, China, China, China. And they didn't do it to me. It's so perverse to feel validated by a hate crime, or through my identity, through mean people. But I feel like rude people are also kind of honest, and that's what makes them rude. And so it just kind of got baked into me that I wasn't really Chinese and that I wasn't really American. But also they're racist, so why should I care about their opinion? I've had a hate crime against me, except it was because they thought I was white. So let me explain that. It was on the Red Line stop to Chinatown, actually, ironically enough. Some guy on the train was walking down, and he kicked the crap out of my shins. I was sitting like this, actually. And then he came over, and I moved my legs to make sure that he could get through, and then he just went, wham! And he was right there, actually, and then he looked at me, and he said, "What, you hurt?" and I was hurt. I looked at my shin later, and it actually was bleeding. He kicked me so hard through the pants that I was bleeding. And I said, yeah, why'd you do that? And he said, 'cause you're white. And he didn't stop and listen to me say, actually, no, I'm not white. Chinese American. I was born in Evanston, Illinois. When I was 6, I moved to Kenya. When I was 7, I moved to Uganda. Lived there till I graduated high school. My parents now live in Shanghai, and now I live in Chicago. He'd already gone to the other train car. And also, he didn't care, and I don't think I cared either, honestly. I felt lonely and confused and other. And I think that's kind of how I've felt ever since we moved, is other. Because I was never really allowed time to think about my identity. Nothing against my childhood. I loved where I grew up and everything, and I loved the people that I met. But I was never really given space to figure out who I was and where I was, and I feel like I'm finally coming to terms with that, which is kind of how this monologue was created, was me kind of sitting down and thinking about who I am and what I want to tell you all. It's a beautiful sunset. Also, it's a beautiful bridge. It's my favorite bridge in Chicago.